Connor Norby gets the call from the Marlins. Will be making his Marlins debut this evening and will be playing at third base. Tons to get into. This is Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins. This is your daily Marlins pod. I am your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up, of course, at Miami Marlins _UK. Happy Monday, guys. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. This is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Reminder, there's a YouTube channel as well. Hit subscribe over on the YouTube channel. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on this episode, the Marlins in general. Particularly, I want to hear from you on two specific topics. Connor Norby, what are your expectations? How good can he be? Or will he just be a fringy prospect? More on that one as we get into this show. Plus, I want to hear from you specifically on Max Meyer. Is Max Meyer a big league starter? It was the most uninspiring start from Max Meyer that I think I've ever seen during the weekend series against the Mets. So let me know your thoughts. Is Max Meyer a big league starter? Can he become that in the long term? Or does the future seem more like a reliever profile? Tons to get into on today's episode. But before we do that, let you know about our sponsor. And it's our good friends over at PrizePicks. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use the code, and it's all lowercase, LockedOnMLB, for a first deposit match up to $100. And guys, the breaking news announced by our good friend over at Fish on First, Isaac Azout. Isaac Azout. Breaking news now. We love to see it. Love to see the progress on these guys. In many ways, that situation is perfect. And let me tell you why. There was a brilliant Fish on First stream, as they're always, there's a pre-series stream every time. And they do an amazing job. There was a great stream, though, before the weekend series. Aram Layton, former Locked On Marlins GOAT, now Just Baseball GOAT, joined the guys, and they wanted to talk about the Marlins farm system. Isaac Azout, during that episode, called out to say, Aram, tell me why Connor Norby is so far down your rankings. Basically, Isaac Azout, super high seemingly on Norby. Loves him, loves the profile. Aram Layton then rattles off various reasons as to why Connor Norby is not quite the prospect that maybe some thought headed into 2024. Basically, fringy defense, fringy offense, fringy arm, fringy everything. There was a stunned silence after Aram just delivered all of that information. It was pretty hysterical, to be honest with you. And Aram tried to move on. Isaac tried to move on and go and talk about someone else, but Aram kind of stopped him in his tracks and said, no, Isaac, it looks like you got something on your mind. Let me know your thoughts. It was a glorious segment, and that's why it's even better that Isaac Azout, breaking news that Connor Norby is and has been promoted or called up by the Marlins. Reminder, Connor Norby, for those that have been living under a rock for the past couple of months, it's possible. But reminder for those, Connor Norby acquired by the Marlins via trade from the Baltimore Orioles as part of the Trevor Rogers deal. Kyle Stowers was also part of that deal. So it was Trevor Rogers for Kyle Stowers, Connor Norby. A lot of people, and originally at the time, like I mentioned, a lot of people were like, oh, it's Connor Norby for Rogers. This is a fat dub for the Marlins. Then it got announced that Stowers is in the deal. Everyone kind of calling out this might be the best trade there's ever been. Ultimate fleece job, potentially. Loads of hyperbole around this one. This is why I love prospects. I love all this situation. Kyle Stowers, it's fair to say, has had a real struggle to start his Marlins career. Rod Allen on the broadcast, I think it was the Saturday game, the Saturday evening game. Yes, it was. I'm certain it was, because I was a few glasses of red wine in watching that game. It was fun. But Rod Allen, who I absolutely love, by the way, my favorite co-commentator, let's say. I guess Tommy Hutton too. I don't know. There's so many good ones the Marlins have. But anyway, Rod Allen was waxing lyrical about a Kyle Stowers walk. It was the walk of walks. It was probably just better than the first walk from JJ Bleday. Do you remember that one when Bleday walked and everyone was like hailing it as the best walk ever? This was right up there with Rod Allen, where he's basically calling out to say that he thinks Stowers he's getting there. He's been maybe trying a bit too much. He's been a bit off, whatever it might be. But he's got the feeling that Stowers is about to kind of catch fire. He then walks, which was great, clearly. I mean, get on base, all good. But nevertheless, it was the most hyped up walk, play-by-play commentary I think I've ever heard. Nevertheless, Kyle Stowers still really struggling at the big league level. Wait to see if he can piece it together and whether there's actually a big league stick in there. Clearly, as Marlins fans, we all hope that there is. He has the opportunity to be a big part of this Marlins offense. But clearly, if he underperforms, there's minor league options, so that's useful. But equally, as we see with Peter Bendix, he's not afraid to make the roster moves. He's not afraid to pick up a waiver guy and DFA someone, irrespective of whether you've been traded for, drafted, whatever it might be. Who knows? That's one thing about Peter Bendix this year. He's not afraid to cut the dead wood. Granted, a lot of the dead wood has been from previous regimes that he's cut. But Tim Anderson, for example, wasn't afraid to pull the trigger in the end. So, why are we talking so much about Rod Allen and Peter Bendix and Kyle Stowers? I don't even know. It's Monday, and there's a lot to talk about. Nevertheless, the big news. Isaac Azout announces that Connor Norby is getting the call from the Marlins. We've now seen the lineup, and he will be playing third base. Remember when he was acquired via trade? The Marlins said, we're going to send him down to AAA. We want him to get a look and get familiar defensively at third base. Aram Layton, by the way, on that Fish on First stream, calling out his second base defense fringy, his third base arm fundamentally non-existent, seemingly. And so this is going to be very interesting. I'm going to be paying close attention to this situation with Connor Norby. I think it's very intriguing that he's getting the start, debut for the Marlins at third. I know Otto Lopez has predominantly been the everyday second baseman for the Marlins. Otto Lopez, he is what he is. He's decent at second base, but offensively limited. If we're completely honest, had a fun start. But I think it's very interesting that you're prioritizing, you're getting Norby in a third, whereas you leave Lopez in at second. It's very interesting to me. Very interesting. Nevertheless, Connor Norby, it's all about the offense. It has to be about the offense. And in terms of, what we can potentially expect from Connor Norby, when we look at what he's done at the AAA with the Shrimp, played 14 games. He's hit 271, a 711 OPS, one home run in that period, 6 walks. So Rod Allen's going to be happy. 19 Ks. Like, the numbers are okay. 271, hitting 711 OPS. Like, it's okay. There's other guys at AAA that are doing more and have done more in that time period. It's okay. We know the standard of pitching at AAA level right now because we see enough of them coming up from the Marlins AAA team and landing in at the big league roster because there's a need for arms and a need for innings. So we know at the moment the quality of competition down at AAA, in the depths of August, in a season with the most brutal amount of pitching injuries maybe ever, the quality isn't amazing. Baseball, sports in general, for me is all about levels. Everything's about levels. And going from AAA to the big leagues, and particularly if you're facing, teams that are in the hunt at this point and have, decent rotations, making that step, I think anyway, at this point, is like effectively a AAA. That's like playing a club level pro tennis player. That's how I see it. And then going up to, we face the Diamondbacks, for example, and maybe some of the starters that those guys have. That's like stepping up and all of a sudden having to face, Novak Djokovic, Carlos Alcaraz, these guys. There's a significant level adjustment, and it is that big. Club level pro tennis player to top 10 tennis players. That's the kind of effective leap, in my opinion. And so minor league numbers, in my opinion, they're kind of irrelevant. It's a different game. It's a completely different game. They're almost, you can't compare. You can't compare what you see at AAA, AA at all to what can translate to the big league level. In my opinion, it's no real indicator, the numbers anyway, and the performance, because it's a different game. You need to be facing big league pitching. We've seen that with Stowers. Like, for Stowers, it's been an immense struggle. We hope that Connor Norby isn't the same, clearly, and it's going to be very interesting to see, how things go. His minor league career, with the Orioles has been super encouraging, I would say. When you look at the numbers, it's fair to say that, from maybe 23, 23 was okay. 24 is okay. Like, he's hitting 290. We'll wait to see with Connor Norby. I think the interesting part is, Aram Leighton, a guy that I fully respect in terms of prospect evaluations. The main takeaway on Connor Norby was this is a guy that is right now not looking, the profile isn't looking like an everyday big league player. That's what Aram's assessment is at this point. It feels like he's gone backwards a little bit in 24. That's discouraging. Let's see what the Marlins can do with Norby. I'd never heard of Connor Norby before this season. I've got to hold my hands up. I'm not a prospect guy. I don't follow prospects. There's no point. A waste of time for me. There's enough. I mean, why would you want to follow prospects when you can follow the Marlins? I mean, that 2023 season was a Mount Rushmore season for the Marlins, right? It has to be. I've got time for prospects. So I've never heard of Connor Norby. But like Stowers, I mean, I saw like 3 at-bats with Stowers, and I could see exactly what he was, and it hasn't changed in the game since. Let's see what Norby's cooking. Let's see what he's got. For Trevor Rogers, if they get anything in terms of production out of either Stowers, Norby, or both combined, in the next couple of years, it'd be seen as a win. We all know, we watched enough Trevor Rogers games in the past couple of years. We all know what Trevor Rogers is as a starter, and the Orioles are seeing that firsthand now. We know what he is. And so that, to me, makes me think that the Orioles know exactly what Connor Norby is and what exactly Kyle Stowers is. And I think the combination of them isn't much. I don't think the Orioles rated them at all, either of them. Because on the flip side, we didn't rate Trevor Rogers. He was like a back-end starter with zero upside. It's highly improbable that you're going to get massive returns from that profile of pitcher. I know you can say it's the deadline and maybe the Orioles are in need and maybe they try to overpay. But the Orioles are smart. They're super smart. They're not making egregious trades. It's not AJ Preller and the Padres just making moves and, F them prospects. It's not that at all. The Orioles are super disciplined, and they wouldn't move either of these guys if they thought that there was a potential for them to be good. I hope we're wrong. But that's what the body of evidence suggests to us. Stowers looks like a bust. And Norby, he's got a lot to do. A lot to do at the big league level. Nevertheless, he's making his debut, and I wish it was UK friendly so I could watch it live. But I won't be watching it live, but I'll watch it in the morning, and we'll see how we go. For Norby, though, this is a real big opportunity because Manny Rivera has been DFA'd, rightly so. Has been underwhelming. I mean, when I think of the 2024 campaign for the Marlins, I'll think of Emmanuel Rivera. That will kind of sum it up to me, just how underwhelming the season has been, how, just run-of-the-mill it is and under, below average. Manuel Rivera is like the 2024 pinup boy for the Marlins. So I'm glad that the Marlins have moved on from him. I'm glad they're getting Connor Norby up and glad we're going to see him. He was on the 40-man, so it makes total sense to do that. And considering, his minor league career, there's not really much left to do at minor league levels. So he's got a great opportunity now for 6 weeks, whatever it may be, till this season's over. Not that I'm counting down the days, but he's got an opportunity for 6 weeks to really stake his claim really, learn. Get the memory bank fully boosted up so he rocks into 2025 feeling confident, feeling that, yes, I'm a big leaguer, and yes, I can contribute, and yes, the Marlins and their offense, their new look offense, which it will be a new look offense at 25, has the potential to hang and bang. That would be nice. That would be nice, no doubt. So Connor Norby, great opportunity in front of him. This feels like a downbeat announcement. It's not downbeat at all. I don't know anything about Norby. I've never seen an at-bat of his. I'm delighted that Isaac Azout announced the news. I'm delighted that it come off the back of the Fish on First stream where Aram Layden effectively, like, Isaac Azout looked like he'd been punched in the face 7 times by the time Aram had given his assessment on Norby, which I thought was hysterical. Aram Layden believes that Connor Norby is a fringy prospect, and we're going to find out. We're going to find out real quick. So I'm excited. Who's right, who's wrong? Was the Trevor Rogers deal actually an overpay by the Orioles? Or did they know something that us Marlins fans didn't? I think it's somewhere in the middle. But nevertheless, for the Marlins, if they can get any degree of production out of Norby in the next couple of seasons, then it would still have been worth it for the deal with Trevor Rogers. It may not be, on reflection, the massivest overpay that we'd ever seen. We don't know. We'll wait and see. These guys, you got to give them at-bats. You got to give them time, et cetera, et cetera. But, the pressure's on. Pressure's on. I'm excited to see how it plays out. I want to carry on the conversation. I want to talk about Max Meyer straight after the ads. That was a long first segment, but it was worth it. Connor Norby up, playing and starting at third base, hitting 6 in the lineup, I believe. So, we'll look forward to that. We're going to talk about Max Meyer and whether he is a current and future big league starter, or whether there's a different future in the making here for Max Meyer. Before we do that, let's let you know about our good friends over at PrizePicks. Yes, sir. So we'll get the graphics pumped for PrizePicks. And guys, you know this one. Absolutely love PrizePicks. And PrizePicks, of course, is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. It has over 5 million active members, and it's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community today. And the best bit, you can win up to 100 times your money. Simply selecting 4 correct picks, as little as 4 correct picks, and turn $10 into $1,000. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need a win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Yes, sir. So all you have to do is simply download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. The code again is LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, run your game. Welcome back to Locked On Marlins with me, Peter Pratt. It is Monday, the 19th of August, and we're reflecting on the news. Firstly, that Connor Norby has been called up by the Marlins and will be playing third base. Very excited to see what the defense looks like, and also very excited to see what opportunity he gets and how he embraces that opportunity. This is the start of it for Peter Bendix. This is the next wave. That's the Marlins' new hashtag, by the way. Next wave. These are the next wave of guys. These are Bendix's guys. Trevor Rogers moved. Stowers and Norby, the next wave. They are here. Stowers isn't performing. Let's see what Connor Norby can do. But, this is how Bendix is going to be measured and judged. By the quality of his trades. We can hype up the farm system rankings all we want. But frankly, production at the minor league levels is irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. AA, AAA, they're different games. It's almost different sports to the big league level, no doubt. So, as we see, the numbers don't always translate. Often they don't. But let's see how this one goes. I want to talk about Max Meyer because I was deeply shocked, might not be the right word, but man, oh man, Max Meyer's start on the weekend, Saturday, against the Mets was absolutely terrible. It was a terrible start from Max Meyer, where he continues to struggle with, I mean, the fastball it's in serious peril. Effectively, at this point, Max Meyer has a slider that he uses 40-ish% of the time. It's a good slider, we know that. But the fastball is literally, it's a Swedish fastball. You know what I mean. That's what it is. The changeup, I saw a few swings and misses on the changeup. It's not being used frequently enough. I have no idea where Max Meyer is at this point. I'm watching him throw 40% fastballs, and they're Swedish ones, 40% sliders, and they're good. And then there's 20% changeups, and they look okay too. I've no idea what's going on with Max Meyer's makeup. I've got no idea what's going on with the fastball. But man, oh man, if this fastball can't improve, then Max Meyer has a serious problem on his hands. The amount of 3-2 counts on Saturday was insane. The pitch count was like out of control after 2 innings, to be honest with you. You already knew 2 innings in that Max Meyer is not going deep into this game, nowhere near it. Doesn't miss bats, barely gets any swings and misses, gets hit hard, home runs. Man, oh man, it's so uninspiring from Max Meyer. A guy that was, taken so high in the draft. People at the time thought he had a reliever profile. They thought it was a bit of a reach from the Marlins at that point. It's fair to say DJ Svihlik had some issues in round 1. Maybe Max Meyer was another one of them. However, Max Meyer definitely performed at the minor league level. Again, to that point, they're different games, they're different sports. But Max Meyer was performing at AA, at AAA, got promoted to the Marlins. I watched that first game. I watched it in full, live. And I remember thinking, slider looks good, but fastball doesn't. There's no changeup. I know Max Meyer is supposed to be good, but already I had a few concerns. We then lose him to Tommy John, and he comes back, looks good in spring, starts the year, looks good, goes down to AAA. I don't know what's happened since then. I don't know what happened in AAA because, and I need to try and get some actual detail on this, because the rumors, and maybe we've talked about it in this pod, were that he struggled with motivation, with the right attitude, maybe at AAA. I need to fact check that. If anyone listening knows the actual situation or have seen quotes, then please share them with me, because I don't want to mislead you. Misinformation in the UK, it's a dangerous situation right now. So I don't want to mislead you. No, I don't. But I'd like to know the situation in AAA. I know Max would have struggled with that because he did well. He obviously had a career outing against the Braves, sent down. It's tough mentally to deal with that situation. I'm wondering what actually occurred. But the AAA performance was poor. The numbers anyway. Clearly, maybe trying things, working on developing pitches, and that's what it's about. For Max Meyer, there's barely any point at the AAA level anyway, and maybe in the big leagues at this point. Like, we know his slider's good at this point. We know his slider's good. But I want to see, going into the next start with Max Meyer, what I want to see is, I want to see 20% slider usage. And I want to see 80% of other pitches. I want to see him continuing to work on the changeup. I want to see 40% changeups and 40% Swedish meatballs. I don't know. But with Max, I need to see that. There's no point just rocking out there and throwing 40-45% sliders. We know it's good, but you need the rest of the repertoire to get to the next level. If it doesn't, then Max Meyer will be a reliever, which is fine. Not to, call out, not to suggest that being a reliever is something to be embarrassed about. Absolutely not. Relievers win games. They lose games too. Every team needs good relievers. The Marlins, considering what they've moved recently at the deadline, are going to need good relievers. Maybe Max Meyer is going to be one of them. But considering the Marlins' service time manipulation efforts this year with Max Meyer, which is, I don't think anyone can dispute that. They believe that Max Meyer is a starter. The service time manipulation makes you believe that the Marlins think that he is a long-term starter. I've watched all of Max's starts this season, and frankly, this second stint in the big league levels, he's looking like a reliever to me. I called it out on Twitter to say, he's not a million miles away from Anthony Bender. Someone pushed back at me and said completely different pitches, but maybe I was wrong on that. But what I'm saying is, like, Bender, effectively like a heavy slider guy with a fastball, a sinker, I guess he throws, Bender, but it's a slightly different makeup. But you know what I'm saying? It's a guy that heavily relies on a slider. I know Bender's has been recategorized as a sweeper or whatever it might be these days. But you know the drill, right? Like, Bender's good. He's been a fine reliever this year. And I watch Max Meyer, and I see Anthony Bender, to be honest with you. I'm struggling to see a guy that's going 6 innings regularly at the big league level at this point. I really am. I'm struggling with it. Has something gone wrong with the development? Has something gone wrong with the attitude? Has something gone wrong more generally? Or have we just, wanted to believe something that was never there? I'm starting to ask myself that question. Did we overhype a guy and talked about him like he was a legit starter and kind of ignored the fact that he had one pitch that was above average and the rest was average or below? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Am I being harsh on Max Meyer? Let me know your thoughts on that start on the weekend, because for me, was severely underwhelming. And I came away from that, and I've seen a lot of it on Twitter to suggest a lot of people saying, looks like a reliever. I think he looks like a reliever. And frankly, I think that's a fair assessment at this point. Let's hit the final ad. I want to talk about Vayente Beozo. Vayente Beozo. I also want to talk about a shrimp explosion yesterday. We haven't got a ton of time, but we do need to touch on that. Absolutely. Before we do that, let's let you know about our good friends over at FanDuel. Yes, sir. And guys, listen up closely. This is for everyone now. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little bit different for you. Now, through September 22nd, that's almost a month, just over a month, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel any time. Sounds like a stunning deal, right in time, just in time for NFL season. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, guys, final segment here with me, Peter Pratt, and we're running long on time, so we'll carry on this conversation, particularly about Beozo, very shortly. The Shrimp had an explosion yesterday. In the 9th inning, they were down big time and found a way to come all the way back 10-9. They ended up winning that game. The standouts, and everyone was a standout because everyone was piling in. But I must say, Agustin Ramirez is getting big-time love on Twitter today. A lot of people loving the profile. Davison De Los Santos continues to hit bombs. Man, oh man, Agustin Ramirez is some of the swings I've seen, some of the clips I've seen. It is a aggressive swing. It looks wild, frankly. But baseballs are disappearing off his bat. A lot of people are also considering, when are we going to see these guys? Are we going to see them in September? Maybe, maybe not. The main problem with those guys, Davison De Los Santos specifically, is he's not currently on the 40-man. So that's a bit of a problem in some ways. It may mean that the Marlins look to go slower with him. I think, there's clearly, an opportunity maybe to get him involved. But, at the moment, we'll wait and see how it goes. Agustin Ramirez is also not on the 40-man either. And so, again, another guy, so they have to make roster moves. Nevertheless, it was great to see the Jumbo Shrimp absolutely going bananas in the 9th inning. It looked a wild ending to that game. And frankly, everyone chipping in. Troy Johnston with a home run in that one. Everyone's chipping in. I mean, the Shrimp were blowing them up. I want to talk about Vayente Beozo, but we haven't got time for this episode. So we promise tomorrow we will talk about Vayente Beozo in some detail. But man, oh man, you can't help but be impressed with what you've seen with Vayente Beozo. I talked about it on Sunday, mentioned it on Twitter, that Peter Bendix, this may have been so far his best deal. Because Beozo at this point, and yes, a lot of people are saying this is one of the luckiest pitchers in baseball, or maybe there's ever been. I don't know, but to get Beozo for a DFA'd Jordan Groshans, and to get this level of production out of him, and this level of fight, and this level of quality thus far, it has been super impressive. I get it that there's definitely some Jordan Yamamoto vibes in here. Yes, there's maybe some Dan Castano vibes. I don't know. Definitely Jordan Yamamoto. So we'll see how sustainable this is longer term. But you have to say how impressive it's been, Beozo. So talk about that in more detail tomorrow. We're going to recap Connor Norby's debut with the Marlins as well and see how that goes. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. We are back tomorrow, and we'll see you then.